r/AskReddit. What's the worst food sin you've seen someone commit? Not something I've seen, but my parents said when I was 4 I'd sneak into the Doritos, lick all the powder off some chips, and put them back in the bag. When my parents would try to eat some, they'd suddenly be horrified by grabbing a cold and soggy chip. You just changed my stance on the death penalty. My cousin's son did this with Cheetos. He'd lick all the cheese off them, then put them back in the bag/bowl. Found out this was a thing when we went over there for some function. My uncle walks up to me, grabs my arm real authoritarian style and whispers, "Don't eat the Cheetos." My dad used to start the Thanksgiving turkey ridiculously early, like 9 AM, but we didn't eat till normal dinner time, like 5 to 6 PM. So he'd take the delicious turkey out of the oven, toss it in the fridge for 5 hours, carve it at dinner time, pile it onto a platter, then stick the platter in the microwave. I usually slept in on Thanksgiving, so I didn't catch on to this abhorrent practice until I moved out and started coming over for Thanksgiving. I'm married with my own house now, so I host dinner now. Last year everyone was amazed at how moist my turkey was. Yeah, turns out not microwaving the crap out of it makes it taste pretty good. Who knew? When microwaves first hit the market in the 1970s, they were such a novelty that everything got nuked. My dad would come out of the rain and nuke his socks to dry them out at the same time as a cup of soup. I know a family that does this, except that they make their entire Thanksgiving meal the day before, eat some of it, then give family/friends reheated leftovers for Thanksgiving dinner while bragging about how good it tasted the day before. 25-pound turkey, about an hour of prep in the morning, 6 hours in the oven. Let it rest for an hour or two is pretty standard practice for me, but only cooking the turkey for 3 hours, refrigerating it, and microwaving is definitely a sin. You really don't want to try and slice a turkey when it's screaming hot. On behalf of my wife, I tell this story about myself. I once had a really sore mouth and couldn't chew food. My wife made spaghetti bolognese, and I told her I still couldn't eat, so she just ate alone and put the rest in the fridge. I was so hungry from not eating properly for a couple of days though, so later I put it in a blender and drank cold spaghetti bolognese smoothie. She almost threw up watching it, but it was actually okay. I had the same problem when I was going through chemo. Sores in mouth are a terrible thing, and you get so hungry for meat and potatoes, but can't eat due to the mouth sores, not even with liquid painkillers numbing them. And because you can't eat what you need, you don't heal as fast. So I made a beef stew, pressure cooked, with potatoes and vegetables. Blended it in a NutriBullet and it really hit the spot. And because I ate well, the sores were less in the coming days. So, I totally get what you did. Keep on listening to your body and eat what you need to heal. There was a crazy old lady named Lala who was a server for 10+ years at a restaurant that I used to bartend at. Super nice lady, but she always smelled like cat piss and was generally unhygienic and gross to be around. Customers loved her though, so management kept her around. In a hoe, instead of scraping guests' food scraps into the garbage, she would fill carry-out boxes with the scraps. She saved damn near everything. I'm talking half a tomato slice, crusty old fries, a single bite of a burger. She would just throw it all in a box. Then, at the end of her shift, she would mix it all together and eat it like a salad. Feeling nauseated just typing this. Grossest crap I've ever seen in my life. Joke's on you. Her immune system must be like Fort Knox. Vaguely similar, but my mum used to have a friend who was eccentric. She was a hoarder and her house and car were full of junk. She stayed with me for a couple of weeks until I kicked her out for bringing her hood inside, and one time someone gave me a huge bag of lemons, so I made lemon meringue pie. I used all of the juice and zest from the lemons and this woman picked them out of the bin and put them back in the fridge because they are still good. She also glad wrapped a bowl containing a single soggy piece of lettuce left from a salad. I witnessed her drink off lumpy milk and eat moldy bread because it's still good. She doesn't speak to us since I kicked her out. She asked to stay for 2 weeks while she got ready to drive up to the bush for some job, but stayed almost a month and sold her car and moved all her junk inside my house while I was at work. She was pretty unwell, no idea what she's doing now. There's a guy in my flat at university, and all his meals, not too sure about breakfast, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was also the case, are all chicken nuggets and microwaved rice. Other times he will mix it up by making hot dogs and noodles, but that's all I've ever seen this guy eat. Somehow this sustains him. He's a lanky guy, but he looks like death warmed up. Gaunt facial features, ghostly complexion. I know a diet like that would make me very ill, but I can hardly understand how this guy can just survive on that. I used to nanny for a boy who was pretty severely autistic. He would only eat plain chicken nuggets and french fries for every meal, and looked pretty sickly. He once screamed in terror when I brought an orange to the table for me to eat. I mentioned how skinny he was to the mom once, and she got really offended. But then at his next doc act she was told that her son was severely malnourished. Good on her though. She got with his therapist and they came up with a plan for him to try a new food each week, like the same item 7 times in a row, and to drink a vitamin smoothie every day. I haven't seen them in years, but I hope he's doing okay. So while I was growing up, my family had lots of get-togethers where my grandparents on my dad's side would host and cook. She cooked all sorts of things and most things were ready before we arrived. She just kept them in the oven to make sure they were warm by the time we arrived. Everyone raved about my grandma's famous cheese and potato scallops. And I admit, they were really freaking good. Super creamy, perfectly cut potato slices, and seasoned to perfection. They were amazing, and we all looked forward to grandma's famous cheese and potato scallops. Then one day, for some reason, I had to stay with my grandma all day and hang out with her while the rest of my family did their crap. We were having dinner later that night, so we went to the grocery store getting all the ingredients. She picks out a box and I see it, and it's the freaking scalloped potatoes the whole family thought was her recipe. There was no recipe, it was just instant shit that she's bought for the last 50 years spawning off as her own somehow. Just add some water and put it in the oven, bada bing bada boom and done. It was always done before anyone arrived, and she never told anyone in my family for like half a century, and somehow nobody in my family figured it out. I don't even think my grandpa knew. That was pretty sinful even for my young brain at the time. Edit. I don't remember what brand the scalloped potatoes were because I was like 10 years old at the time, but it was like stovetop or minute rice quality stuff. I'll try and look next time I'm in a grocery store, but I remember asking my parents if they knew it came from a box and they were floored. They asked my grandma about it, and she was just like, "You'll never asked, lol," which is true. She kept cooking them, and we kept eating them because they were still awesome and delicious. I'm way too late, but here is my culinary claim to fame. I can't cook unless I have clear instructions. It's not that I'm unable, I just don't know what I'm doing. Give me a recipe and watch me go, otherwise get out of the way. Way out. Like in another house. One day I tried to cook scallops. I have never cooked them, nor have I ever seen it done. Firstly, they were frozen scallops. Not a good start. My thought was, you bake fish sticks and they are frozen. I'll bake these too. So I set the oven, put the scallops on a baking sheet, and now we wait. If I remember correctly, I did put some johnnies on it. About 20 minutes later I took them out and tried one. It was the consistency of a hard artist eraser. Well, frick me. So I think, how can I say this? It's what I planned for dinner. Then I thought, sauce might work. So I look in my cupboards, and I find nothing. Then I remembered I bought some enchilada sauce for burritos, and I could use it now and buy more later. So I quickly grab the can and go for the opener. Open. Pour and plop. It wasn't until that exact moment that I realized I had not grabbed the enchilada sauce can. I had grabbed the refried beans. In my defense, they were the same brand. I stared morose at the abomination I had created. At that exact moment my brother came into the kitchen to see what I was doing, looked at my mess, and fell over laughing. It turns out all you do is put scallops in a pan with butter and make them hot. That's it. I learned this in fits and starts between gales of laughter. TLDR. I baked scallops into Lego tires and then tried to save them with cold refried beans. 1 out of 10. Do not recommend. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Don't forget to leave your stories in the comments below.